Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, David.
How are you, David?
Good. How are you? All right.
I'm all right. I'm a little red today. Just my light streaming in from my attic today it's just giving me this. I don't normally look this red.
Okay, so you didn't play Think a Drink before?
Yeah, I was like, maybe you already got started without us.
I know exactly. Can you imagine?
Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, welcome to episode 39 of Behind the Masterminds. For all our curious listeners, you're going to find out what Seize the Show is all about.
Yeah.
We now have the CEO with us today, David. We'll give him a formal introduction in a bit, but first, we're going to announce the lucky winner for Letter Joy from just like 2 episodes ago. But doing back and back.
But you're getting a 3-month subscription.
Yeah, right? 3 months mystery subscription, which means that you're getting 1 letter per week.
Yeah, you're going to be visiting the mailbox quite often.
Yeah. All right, let's do this.
Here we go.
Ooh, our winner is Matthew Louie.
Matt, congratulations, Matt.
Yeah. He loves this
stuff.
All right. And so after this interview, I mean, everyone can chime in and ask questions because I know for sure there's a lot of things going on in the show. And we also had to find out, by attending the show ourselves, like, what is this all about? So after the interview, decide to book the show, check out what it's all about. Seize the Show has a treat for our audience. You can use the promo code ESCAPE20 for 10% off on Rebus Control. Mm-hmm. And the last performance is actually today.
Yeah.
So if you miss that, then
for the moment,
for the moment, they'll bring it back.
So we haven't. So yes, this code's going to be good. This code is also good for the show that we're premiering next week. It's just we're putting a new show together, which we'll talk about. So we have to pause this one, put the new show up, and then get everything else back up. But just this week. So yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good to know.
Well, the lucky winner will be able to apply. Well, it's 2 tickets for the lucky winner.
Yeah, because it's always fun to go in a pair. Yeah. But today's show is 5 p.m. or the 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if you can't make that one, like he said, there's a next show coming up. It's called The Night at Gatsby. Right. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So you definitely check out their website for date and times of those new shows that are coming up.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're finally ready to introduce our guest of the day.
Yes.
David is a Tony-nominated veteran multi-platform entertainment producer from New York.
Yeah.
Represent. He produced a smash off-Broadway hit play Puffs, which was a parody of the Potter universe that ran for 3 years off-Broadway. He filmed the stage production, which is available on Amazon, iTunes, and is the publisher of the script. He brought the global hit immersive spectacle Slava Snow Show, which has been touring the world for 30 years. And FYI, I've actually seen the show several years ago, and it was amazing.
We have talked about it.
Yeah.
It was for a critically acclaimed engagement on Broadway in 2019. He's now combined his love of video games, immersive entertainment, and technology into a new technological platform called Gamiotics, as you see the incredible logo right there behind him, which powers the entertainment experience, which is Seize the Show.
Yeah.
All right. So our first question for you is, first of all, that's a lot of achievements right there.
Thank you.
David, tell us, did the pandemic have any impact on the creation of this show, or did you already have the idea to create this virtual experience before the pandemic? We know you've done mostly live stage performance types of experiences, so we wanted to know how this idea of an online show came about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the answer to the question is yes. The pandemic, I think, for a lot of people has changed a lot of things in the world and certainly in entertainment. And there's a massive, I think, shift that's going on in terms of how people are consuming entertainment. Right. I was working on for about 4 years this idea of audience directed narrative. Right. Which is a style like a choose your own adventure style book type thing, if you guys know what that is, right? Which is like that you make the decision as an audience member about what happens next, right? During the piece of content that you're consuming. And I've been working on this for about 4 years while I was doing, producing Puffs and producing Slava Snow Show and working in live theatrical in New York. And I realized that there was a technological solution to the problem, right? Because I'd seen other iterations of this idea, but they all like one of them, they were handing remotes to people as they were walking into a theater so that they could, push buttons. Like, that's never going to fly, right? That's never going to work. Right. And I got very lucky. I met this programmer out of California who at one point in his career was the senior architect of the PlayStation Gaming Network. So he knew a couple of things. And we collaborated together to build this Gamiotics technology, which allows for real-time interaction between the audience and content during the course of an event, right? So it was born in live theatrical. And I worked on like 2 different shows over about 3 years, and I couldn't get it quite working right. There were a lot of problems that we talk about later. I couldn't get it working, and then doubled down on it a little over a year ago, and was commissioning a show. I actually was already booked into Edinburgh Fringe Festival for 2020. Like I pitched the idea to one of the festival heads there, and they loved the idea. Like I didn't even have a script yet. I just pitched the idea. They gave me a time slot. They gave me a theater. I was gearing up for that. And then on March 13th, literally everything fell apart. I mean, like all of my funding commitments evaporated overnight. The markets had crashed right then. And I'm sitting in my attic, right, which is where I am right now. I'm staring at the wall. I'm like, all right, let's start over again, right? Let's start from scratch. And that's where Seize the Show was born, right? I literally walked downstairs to my husband and I said, pick up a pen, pick up a piece of paper, let's figure out how to write one of our own. And we wrote the first few of them, right? And started testing this idea out for audiences. And then it just kind of has started blowing up and gaining steam and gaining audience members. And what we realized is that it's a new form of at-home immersive entertainment, right? That we're taking this Bandersnatch idea from Netflix, right? And a couple of other things that exist out there, and we're jailbreaking it, because what the technology allows for, because it's on your phone, anyone in the world can tune into one of our shows. All you need is internet access on your phone and on your computer, and you can see our shows. And that's how it's just started growing in such a big way. And so I produce the content right now, and last fall, we're in a pitch session, and one of my writers, who is a massive escape room enthusiast, right? And I love escape rooms, and he's like, he went to 100 of them last year, or in 2019, right? Like, and he was like, what if we do one? And I was like, let's give it a shot. And so we started writing, and that's how Rubik's was born.
Wow, look at that. All these like different pieces coming together.
Yeah.
And then all you need is an addict. And then you can find ideas that way.
We're stuck at home, and I'm just like, so that we don't kill each other. Like, he's downstairs on the first floor, I'm all the way up in the attic, because we're both working on this company at the same time. So it's just like, that's what I do.
Nice.
Bring me food every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I wanted to explain a little bit to our audience who's not attended one of these types of shows before, what it's all about. Yeah. So we want to give a little summary on, how it works. And, David, feel free to add in anything if I miss anything at the end. So once you book the show, you'll have a Zoom link that you'll be able to log in 15 minutes prior to the show. I would suggest you log in early so you can get a little training on how Gamiotics work. Mm-hmm. The best way to attend the show is to have Zoom on your computer and log in the Gamiotics link on your phone. And then once the game starts, you'll be assigned to a team and notified by the email when you're purchasing the ticket. You can actually choose team A, team B. There's a maximum of 50 people per game. So you'll never be speaking or showing your face during the game itself, but you can communicate with your team through the Zoom chat function. And the puzzles will be represented through the game in between each character's performance. So then you'll need to make a decision on, as a team, on which answer is correct. It'll be in multiple choice format, so I guess it's a little bit easier than our hardcore puzzlers out there who are. And then you'll be able to also sometimes type it into the chat when there is no multiplication. The choices. The majority rules is what's playing here. So the idea is that if you had 4 choices and like maybe 40 people picked option A or something, so that will be the option that the game master will go with, or you proceed in that way.
I mean, basically the way that the gameplay really works is like we use the Gamiotics technology because there's many points in the show where it is able to unite the audiences, right? They will use it when we get to the answer. The audience has figured out the answer by that point, right? Like they're all collaborating and working with each other. So we just use it as a way to continue advancing forward, right? So, but because the gameplay, as you guys know, is really just about, all right, how are we figuring out this puzzle together, right? How are we doing it? And so they once it becomes clear, then they go to Gamiotics, they enter it in. And so, because this is what we've seen is like they rarely get it wrong until you get to the end of the show.
Yeah.
And that's where the game changes quite a lot.
Yeah, I have to say though, we found that there was a lot of good puzzlers in the audience. Like we were trying to catch up. I was like, "What? You figured it out already?" Like, what's going on?
I mean, like there aren't a lot of new options necessarily in escape rooms that are coming out right now, right? And so the hardcore puzzles are just like they showed up and they're like, "We got it, we're here." Like we had a Saturday night where they were just zipping through it. Because the thing about the show is that the thing that we're able to do is the show actually changes every single night. Because like the structure of the show is like you're on a spaceship and you're going the AI has gone insane, is become an insane puzzle master, right? And in order to move from room to room, like the ship is one big room, but in order to move from sequence to sequence, you have to figure out the puzzles. So what we do is we just swap out rooms, right?
Yeah.
We reorder rooms, we swap them out, we make them different so that people can come back to our shows and have the same narrative experience, but they get different puzzles as they're going through.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So then, what if like a team is super fast? Do you have like backup puzzles for them?
So we're a story first company, right? Like that's like we are storytellers, and applying storytelling into escape room format was really fun for us, right? But we still within a 60-minute format, especially because we're delivering it online, we still do it in a 3-act structure, right? So there are puzzles at the beginning. There is not a break, but then there's a climax, right? There's another different puzzle, which is what we call a collab puzzle, right? Mm-hmm. Then you finish the collab puzzle, and then you go into the end game, right? Which is the last thing that you have to figure out. So what we found is like at their best in Act 1, right? At their absolute best, they can get through about 5 rooms, and I have 15 sitting, waiting, ready to deploy, right? Yeah, know, right. We want to, because we didn't know. Like when we built the show, we were like, we have no idea what's going to happen. So it's like, let's build more than we need, because if it works and we're able to run it for a while, we're going to end up going through all 15 rooms like in a few months, right? We're going to and in order, one of the aspects about this style of immersive entertainment that we're doing is, and we discovered this very, very early on, is replayability. People love coming back, right? Because it's never the same thing twice, right? And so that was also part of what we wanted to challenge ourselves with in Escape Room with Rubik's, is saying, how do you design an escape room that constantly changes, right? That is never the same escape room twice, right? And so that's what we set out to do. I think we were mostly successful in doing it, but this was our first one out. Like there will be more that will come into production, during this year. But we really wanted to figure out like getting people to come back, because our audience loves coming back and back to our shows. So we felt like we needed to deliver that to our audience in this new format.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a different sabotager each time.
Yeah, there is a. So we developed a murder mystery show, right? And this was back in the summer. And I remember sitting in the writers' room one day, and I said, "How are we going to get replayability if it's the same murderer every time?" And so we developed a script where, because we have been writing in Google Docs, right? Which allow you to have like it's collaborative for everybody to write in, but then there are links where you can jump to different points of the script, and that's when we started really learning how to use links and bookmarks in it, which is there's a lot of if-then scenarios, like if this happens, then that happens, if this happens, then that happens, right? That are developed in the script, and I kind of put it to the writer and I said, what if the murderer is randomized, that it can be a different murder every show? Because the point of a murder mystery, it's the same similar on an escape room. The point of a murder mystery is that you're unlocking clues to figure out who the murderer is. Well, what if the clues are able to change, right? To then change who the murderer is. And if we randomize who, and so the actors, when they would show up at the show, they didn't know if they'd be the murderer that night or not, right? And it totally worked, right? The audience didn't know, they didn't know, they would come back. Because the audience is having the same narrative experience, but they're just looking at it through a different way, trying to figure it out. So with Rubik's, we put in that same randomizer, right?
So you could definitely do that. Yeah, I can see the ending.
So the saboteur.
I thought our saboteur was very surprised.
It was, it kind of like unraveled as we all
I'm
were
the
playing.
saboteur.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, you didn't know.
I mean, it's. I mean, they know the top. We tell them as we get into the show, but they don't. I mean, it's different every night. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it interesting. Gives them all something else to worry about. let alone all of the other technical mishaps that can happen during a live event, as you guys probably know.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like the Gameotics technology, is that going to be used for anything else, or is it really built for this show?
Like I said, this is at-home immersive entertainment, right? And one of the things that we're developing right now is the technology is insanely flexible, right? The only limit is money to do the code, right? That's it. So as I continue to raise money and I continue to build a company, there's so many different things that we can do with the technology. Basically the way the technology works is that it from a narrative format and also for the escape room, it's got to have two functionalities. We have an A/B functionality, right, which is A, B, C, D style choices, right? Pick one of these, and then we have what are called tests of strength, right? We don't use the test of strength very much within the escape room because it's not actually necessary, but they are a lot of fun within narrative, which are they're mini games built into the tech. Tap your phone X amount of times, remember a sequence in order, right? Go to the and then so there's new things that are coming in that we're doing in Gatsby that allows, because the whole thing is a tool to tell a story like this, right? And so we experimented with a game show format back in the summer, and I love the game show because my writers are hysterical, but it didn't quite work, right? In the way that I envisioned. So I kind of mothballed a little bit. Then corporate buyers started booking the game show, so it's actually like it's making money for us, but I'm still not actually happy with it because we lack a leaderboard, and so we're actually building a leaderboard system into the technology now, right? Yeah. To allow for smaller audiences to be able to have a point system, right, that they can keep track of during the course of playing a game show. Right. And so, like I said, it's all service to this type of at-home entertainment, right? Because like Jackbox doesn't quite work the way that everybody really wants it to, right? And there isn't the Bandersnatch doesn't really quite work the way people want it to, right? In terms of narrative experience. And so all I'm doing is I'm building a platform with a really super flexible tool that allows for this real-time interaction, because you guys know it's milliseconds we're talking about between you hitting your phone and the result showing up on screen. Like it's just anything else out there like it. And so that tool is being built, is continuing to be built to allow any type of content creator with whatever idea they have to be able to use the tool to build their own thing, right? So it's only limited by imagination. When we get to that moment in time, which will be towards the end of this year, when I can start inviting other people to play on the platform. Right now, we're still learning and building enough for ourselves to then start inviting other people to say, all right, well, what do you want to do on this thing? But like, there's a ton of stuff in the pipeline that I'm really excited about.
That's cool.
Yeah. So now we've attended, probably the premiere of the show a couple of weeks ago. The various characters are really fun to watch, and they've, captured the audience in different ways. How different is it to direct an online show versus one in person? Like, how do you audition and rehearse with these actors, given the pandemic? And also tell us about the time when a cat fight broke out on the router. This form, right, is really hard, right? There's no question about it. The actors performing a script or doing a show where what happens next is not actually known to them, only the possibilities are, is really, really tough, right? Yeah. So first off, we, coming out of theatrical in New York, we have a network and a resource group of people that we started pulling from. And what we realized is that the training someone to do this, right, was really tough. And once they got trained, we didn't want to lose them. So we have a tendency to work in like a rep company. There's always a couple new faces on new shows as we continue to do them. But for the most part, the foundational knowledge that each of the individual performers has and how to perform one of these shows is like, there's a training process that has to go on. They have to come in a small role on a new show, and then they kind of have to work their way up through it. So like, it's insanely tricky to do. That said, I can pull actors from anywhere. My actors are all scattered across the country, right? We move fast like a television production studio. We develop scripts in about a 3 to 4 week turnaround, right? So like after 2 weeks of writing, they get it in their hands, they start learning it. They have a week of rehearsal, and then we go into tech, and then we put it up, right? And so they have in about 2 weeks time. They don't have to memorize it because it's sitting in front of them. They're not on stage, right? They don't have to memorize it. But they
have to know how the script function, how it works in order to be able to perform it, right? And so because it's live and because we're all scattered, like weather conditions screw us up sometimes, right? Like we had an actress once who called in at an hour before showtime and said, my power, she was in Connecticut. She's like, storm just came through, power went out. What do I do? And I said, you call all of your friends in the area, right? And find out who's got an internet access, and you take your laptop and you get to their house. And that's literally what you did. And she just showed up at a random friend's house and was like, I need it, and I got to do a show tonight. And executed, like 5 minutes to spare before showtime, got up, got set, got tested, and boom, and she did it. It was amazing. This other time, one of our actresses, we're at the top of show. We started, so what happens is like, there's a pre-roll that runs, right? Like the opening credits, the opening sequence. You guys saw it on Rubrics. It's part of one of the things we do. That runs, and then the show starts. And so we did it. The pre-show ran, the credit sequence, the opening sequence ran, the show starts, and she disappears, right? I mean, like we were in the show and she disappears. And the MC covered. We don't know. We had no idea. We assumed that she lost power. We had no idea what was going on, right? And about 5 minutes later, she pops back into the show, right? And it was just like the right moment in time. Like her character could have been off screen, right? And after the show, she was like, my cats got into a fight on top of the internet router and knocked the entire thing down, and and everything just went dark. I was like, well, don't let them in the room anymore when you're doing shows.
How is the cats?
Yeah, I think 90% of our audience owns cats,
totally,
so they probably can totally relate.
You know what? When you actually said to ask you about that, I was thinking of like two women like fighting on screen. I was like, there's a cat fight that broke out during the show? How does that happen?
Oh my God. I mean, it's like there, and so there, and we've literally seen every type of thing that can go wrong with like real-time internet like performance and events, like every single thing, right? And my CTO, it drives him absolutely crazy. Now, of course, like we're all, I'm an ex-theater guy. Like you get like, and that's just like commonplace. Like there's a night during Puffs where there was a massive rainstorm and the theater was underground, and there was just a steady drip, right? That came down during the entire show. The actors like put a bucket on it and went on and made the bucket one of the characters in the show that night, right? So it's like we're just all used to it. But coming out of the gaming world, like that, you don't want any of that stuff out. You want to control every possible variable you can, and in live performance, you can't always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Karen wants to know, since we're talking about this, how much is scripted versus improv?
Rubik's has a lot of improv in it, right? The most of any show that we do, because the actors in Rubik's are there to facilitate. They're not actually there to tell a huge story, right? They're there to really entertain while everyone's solving puzzles. So early on in the process, we gave them free reign just to be like, keep it clean, but do whatever you want, right? With entertaining, because the actors also realize like they're not really getting paid attention to while the audience is trying to figure out the puzzles. Like they're a little bit of a prop, so like they do a lot of improv work in that on their own. There are certain things they have to hit in certain moments in the show, but there's a lot of improv. Our narrative shows are entirely scripted, 100%. There's no improv in them whatsoever, right? The whole thing is scripted. So like the scripts are 150, 160 pages long, and the audience probably only sees about 70 pages of it, maybe 60, right, during an hour. Rubik's works totally different.
Okay, the scripted one, you mean the one coming up?
Yeah, Gatsby's. Yeah.
The Gatsby's. Okay, cool. Okay. That's very different. And what's the staff size like on these shows besides the actors? Like who else is on the back end?
Yeah, I mean, so you have to have someone who's running gamiotic software, right? You have to someone who, like, during the course of the show, we have a sound guy backstage who's running all the sound cues. We got video, essentially someone who's running all the video that's playing during the show. So there's that, and then you have the actors on stage. I think that's about it during the course of a show. We're able to keep it pretty tight. Rubik's has a dual set. We have backstage operators, because there's a moment in Rubik's. So the thing about Rubik's is like you can play on two different tracks, right? There's an alpha track and a mega track, which has their own set of puzzles. They come together and they go out, but like each track has its own set of operators who are running it for those rooms.
So is Rubik's like are they like on set? Because you're saying like on stage, or is it more of a backdrop?
It's all backdrop. It's all that. They're all, like I said, everybody.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everybody's everywhere. Yeah. One day, right, we'll get ourselves into a studio, but there's no need. Like, we can't, right, and there's no need for it now. I think by the end of the year, when we're able to build our audience enough that we can move our production values up to the next level, like we'll totally go into a studio for everything we're doing.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, because I think how like actors together, like on one screen.
Yeah. My God, I mean, the amount of times we said, "Gosh, we cannot wait to be together in person." One day, right?
I think that's the model for this whole pandemic. Can't wait to. So much we want to do once this is over.
Real live, yeah.
By the way, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type it in the comment. We'll relay those over to David.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to come up with the idea prior to launch date? For Rubik's.
For Rubik's?
For Caesar show, or I guess.
I mean, it's more like, how long did it take from the idea to like actually implementing and actually having the full show being how it is today?
how long have I been working on that? Well, I'm not.
Because it's two separate questions. So I guess first, to put together Seize the Show, how long did it take you from idea of just thinking about it to actually putting it together?
Completion, yeah.
So I had the technology built, right? And so it was there. I was going to be using it for live performance, right? And then I actually looked back over my email a couple weeks ago to answer this question. On March 13th is when everything shut down in New York, right? On March 24th, we had our first reading of a preliminary Seize the Show script. We wrote it in a few days and put it up there, right? That's I just did not waste any time whatsoever. So
what about when it launched for the public? When was that?
That would have been by the end of April, like sometime in April. We did our first show. It was a show called Escape from Paris, and it was just this funny little like Indiana Jones style, and it was a half-hour event, right? And then through the summer, we would write and produce a show every 2 weeks. We write for a week and produce a show for a week, write for a week, produce a show for a week. So I was launching about 2 shows a month. I slowed that down by the time we hit the fall. So now we're on a 3 to 4 week schedule. And now we're actually ideating now out all the way out through June. So we already know what we're doing through June right now, but we're still working on this production schedule, which runs about 3 to 4 weeks from start to finish. But we're now just putting more and more ideas into the hopper so that we can get ahead of them. So
that's pretty fast.
I love your website because it looks like a movie theater with all different showings. Like it's like, all right, do I want to see this movie or this movie? Or
Since you can't go to theater. Here it is.
Well, I mean, look, it's really moved away from the idea of being a theater. It really is like, do you want to watch something on Netflix, right? Or do you want to participate in your entertainment? And that's what I'm after. What we found is like our audience isn't theater people at all anymore. Like those aren't really. I mean, that's where we started, but there isn't really theater people. It's like. It's gamers, right? It's people who love escape rooms. It's people who love Twitch, right? Who love watching, consuming this, like being more active and participatory in their entertainment. And like that's a vast audience out there, right? Like it's I always tell investors when I'm talking about it's Sleep No More. Sleep No More, and it never had a theater person in its early days. It had everybody who never wanted to go to theater went to Sleep No More in New York, right? It is now an institution unto itself, right, with a big audience. But like it was an alternative and still is alternative entertainment experience, right? That's the audience that I'm after. I mean, that's what we're really after. I mean, like with Puffs wasn't theater people in the beginning either. So I've done this before. I actually have experience in literally building an audience, a B2C marketplace from scratch, right? Puffs really wasn't a theater audience beginning. It was hardcore Potter fans, right? And then they would tell their theater friends who also happened to like Potter, like go see this thing, right? You got to go see this parody, and that's how it built. But like I wasn't selling a ticket to a theater person in the early days of Puffs, right? But it was specifically to the audience of people who we knew would just get overjoyed by this content. And I'm doing the exact same strategy right now.
Oh, okay, it's working.
It's working.
Yeah. And I guess like if you guys want to attend one of these fun shows for free, well, here's your chance. You can type in the phrase, "I'm ready," to press that button to enter for the raffle for a pair of tickets to their live premiere shows of your choice. And even if you're a couple and you still want to like, purchase, like do the 2 tickets separately to make your own decisions on the portal, this is what you do. Like you go there and then you say like, I want to be on team A and team B. We played it together as like on the same team. But then now I'm thinking like we probably should have played it on a separate team because I'm like super competitive. I'm like, I want to win.
Well, that's yeah.
But this is also fun entertainment for your friends who, if you want to share a piece of real-time entertainment together, right? Like, and you don't live in the same city, or you haven't seen each other, this is perfect for that, right? I mean, like we get audiences from the UK, from Australia, we have people from Egypt at one of our last shows, right? Like they're just coming from all over the place. And what we're finding, like, and one of my favorite things is because like the chat starts getting really active when you see a family start talking to each other and making fun of each other over the chat, and they're scattered all over the country. It's just this really exciting thing. It's really funny. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, that's what we felt, because I was kind of like, oh, wait, are you seeing this? I think initially you were paired with the other team.
Yeah, so there was some. Well, yeah, there was a little confusion with.
Let's talk about that for a second. Right. So, So one day I will have either APIs built into Zoom, right, that will control a lot more of the experience, or we'll be in our own entire native environment, right? It's a question of how fast and how far we grow. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is that we're using Zoom in a way that in a really challenging way, not the way that it was built, right? And using it as a broadcast platform, right?
Yeah.
So this was my stupid idea of saying, what if we look into, instead of doing everything on webinar, why don't we look into doing things on meeting and use breakout rooms, right? In order to provide 2 different experiences at the same time, which also allows for cross collaboration between the rooms when you need to, right? The breakout rooms are so messed up. Like it's such a messed up function in Zoom where there's a little bit of like, what were we thinking, right? Because it's really tricky. We finally tamed the beast into it being a decent consumer experience, but like you hit that button and you shoot your audience out into different rooms. It takes a second for the whole system to spin back up and get ready and go forward. And so, but no, I've never seen anyone try and use breakout rooms the way that we're doing. It's hysterical. And it doesn't entirely work, right?
I think I was one of those people that got spun around.
Yeah. Actually, if we definitely had that same programming when we watched the other one that we went to. What is it called again? ESCAPETHEROOMers. They do theirs like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a really tricky function in Zoom. It really, it especially from an entertainment standpoint.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
But the difference is we are able to click it. So it's like we get to choose which one we go to, where versus you're like, let me send you to this room. And then sometimes whoever's operating it has the control. Sometimes it gets a little confusing.
It's a really good note, right? Because I think the thing that we were fearful of was, what if everybody goes one way or another and you have nobody in one room, right? I'm paying for all of these operators and staff, and actors to be in one side of it. And then, so we tried to keep it an even balance, right? So, and keep control over it. But there was a cost to that, which is just, it slows the show down while we get everything set, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I guess for each teams who have like different puzzles, what do you think of like for the if you attend the next day, let's say you want to do like the show again, right? You said that there's going to be a fresh set of puzzles. Are the actors of the storyline the same though?
Oh yeah. I mean, the actors are the same. Well, actually, no. The actors can play different roles. Like we've actually already done that, where we just swap them into different roles. So they're all trained to do all the other roles in the show. So we move them.
So they could be different captains. So
we do. We have 2 captains. Yeah, we have 2 different captains. One of the captains is off this weekend because he's sick, and the other one's on for this weekend. But yeah, we have 2 different captains. All the actors can play all the different roles in the different tracks, right? They're all trained to do that. And so their characters changed by the nature of the different actor playing the different parts, right? The plot is still the same. You're still going on the same journey, but also the saboteur is ever changing as well.
Right.
Now.
Mm-hmm.
So after Rubik's Control finishes, I see you have like a whole line of shows lined up, like I was mentioning before, including That Night at Gatsby's, The Body Next Door, which I'm very curious about. The 99 Lives of Prince Henry Point and Click, and War of the Worlds, a survival game. Are you like the writer behind all of these shows? Like, tell us a little bit about the storylines as the titles. Like, they all sound so interesting.
I have a team of writers, right? I have a head writer on that show. I have a head game designer on every show, right? I have a co-director who is also one of our writers as well, usually our game designer. And then I have 2 staff writers who are workhorses in terms of putting stuff together. And then we have a story editor who is going up and cleaning up everything that's going on behind them, right? And making sure everything's clear and make sure the story and everything. So like I said, I run it like a TV, like this is how a TV production studio runs, right? When you have. So I was the head writer. I have now stepped out of that because no one needs me writing anything. I write very funny emails, and that's about the extent of my talent. The head writer's responsibility on the show is it's their idea, it's their story. They have to come up with that, the characters, the plot, and the climaxes at each act, right? And then a general idea of the game design, and then the game designer's got to come in and apply what the game design is into that story, right? So like we have mystery, we have action adventure. The whole point it's how does the audience play, right? How do they play the shows they're going through? What is the gaming experience? What's the objectives? And there's objectives on both sides. With the gaming objective, what's the story objective for the character? Mm-hmm. The audience is always the point of view character, right? So we cast the audience in the show, right? Like we did on Rubik's, right? You are cast as interns who have to solve this thing. We found with this form, right, this narrative form, that is the most successful way to keep the audience entertained if they're participating but not directing somebody else. So if you go and look at Kimmy Schmidt, or you look at Bandersnatch, and anything else, actually, honestly, a lot of other things are out there. What they do is they say the audience gets to make choices for the characters they see. It's not successful, right? Because it's impossible to write a character that has no agency. Like it really, really super hard. And that is a really, really hard challenge that I want to tackle next year, because I've been down this road and it doesn't work. It's not satisfying for the audience to make these decisions for somebody else. It's really fun if you feel like you're in charge, and especially if you are fighting with the rest of your audience about which direction and which way you go. And so we design our choices. We design these, we call them elections, that's our parlance for it. We design our elections on a narrative format to make it really a 50-50 choice for the audience. Half the audience should be going one way, half the audience should be going the other way, right? Within the puzzle, we designed it so that they really had to collaborate with each other in order to solve the thing, right? They had to work with each other to try and figure it out, right? And we instituted that into the second act of the show. So there's that. So the writing team, we take a week to flush out the story and the game design, right? And figure that out, right? And then we take a week to sit down and map the entire thing out. The whole thing gets mapped out. There are narrative maps and there are narrative gaming maps on every single one of our shows. And then we go in and we sit down and we write for a week and we put it all on paper. And then we bring the actors in and say, read it for us. And then we spend a week and a half correcting all the mistakes. And so I oversee the writing room in terms of making sure that they're on track, they're on time. And they, of course, are also like, since I'm inventing this idea, I'm also pushing them and saying, this is the experience that we want to have. This is what we need to do. I was very, very deeply involved, and I am, but now I'm actually able to step back and do other things for the company right now because they know. I spent almost a year training this incredibly smart, talented group of people how to create this form, right? And that's been probably, of anything, one of the most rewarding things in my entire career is that we literally sat down and we made this whole thing up together and figure out what the rules were with this audience of people who have been giving us feedback all along. And when we moved to paid performances in October, the audience has only grown, right? Which has been really great.
That's great. Yeah, no, I mean, like the other part of it was just basically if you wanted to give a little bit of a description on the new shows, like what are they about? Are there any puzzles in all of these, or they're just like some?
Well, it is a puzzle. The shows are a puzzle, right? Like in themselves, right? It's a game. Look, escape room is pass fail, right? Solve the things in the room, and you either get out or you don't, right? It's same thing on Rubik, and it, like you either save the ship or you don't, and you save the ship by figuring out who the saboteur is at the end of it, but you get more clues to figure out who the saboteur. The better you play the game in Act 1, right? So like the more rooms you unlock, the more clues we're going to give you for Act 3 in order to solve it. But it's at the end of the day, it's pass fail. The narrative stories they're all branching narratives, right? So they are, it's more of how do you play this game towards what objective, right? So Gatsby's is a dating sim, but basically, right? Which is, we wanted to take the world of Gatsby's, which the IP is now free to use, because it just came into the public domain literally January 1st. So we want to take the idea of Gatsby's and say, what if you were invited to a party at Gatsby's mansion, right? During the timeline that the book is on, and all of these characters were there, right? And so there's an objective, and I'm not going to give it away, but there's an objective at the top of the show, and then there's an objective in the middle of the show. And your job as an audience is to play the game to satisfy the objectives towards either the ending you want or the ending you think you should have for the game. And so our narratives all have multiple endings, right? There's many different ways that you can, and that's part of the puzzle, which is how do I, like, that's what happened to us on Saving Wonderland, which was a lot more puzzle based, right? But how well you played Saving Wonderland as an audience determined which determined how well you saved Wonderland. So there was you nearly destroyed the world till you completely saved it, and through 2 other iterations in between. With Gatsby's, it's what character are you going to be with by the end of the show, right? Yeah. Depending on how you played it, right? And what you want and what you think the right objective is. We did a show in December called A Christmas Karen, right? So originally, like back in September of last year, I was like, we're going to do Christmas Carol at Christmas. Like, that's what I want to do. And then literally every theater company and everybody in the world started announcing that they were doing Christmas Carol because it's a cash grab, right? Yeah. Like, it's a total cash grab, right? And so I was like, well, now I don't want to do it. And then one of my writers pitched me, it's like, what if we do A Christmas Karen? And I was like, I'm sold on the title alone. Like, this sounds amazing. And what Karen was you are like, it's like if Scrooge had the Saul on the road to Damascus and then threw it away, and 5 years later is still an awful person, which is what Karen is, and you're Karen's assistant, it's Christmas Eve, it's your last day of work, and you have 2 objectives: Christmas spirit or Christmas bonus, and they don't always go hand in hand. And Karen basically sets up a day for you where she's forcing you to make awful choices all day long, and you're either trying to protect your bonus or you're trying to protect your Christmas spirit, and that kind of determines which ending you're going to get.
I love all these like choose your adventure formats, because and also because of that, it's replayable, which is the whole goal.
Yeah, there's so many like roads that you can go down depending on your choices. I think I
played Dead Space like 1, 2, and 3 multiple times on hardcore. Like, I love replayability in games. I leveled out my Borderlands character, right? Because I played that game so many times, right? It's what I love it. I love unlocking things. I love finding Easter eggs. And if I'm enjoying the world that I'm enjoying the story world that like, because I was always that kid, that nerd who reread books over and over and over again, right? Yeah. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I've read the Dragonlance series, right? Like, just like a million times, right? And so that was just, and so like, and that, when you get something that gamers love, they find comfort in this world that they're in, right? And they want to just keep diving in. And I wanted to recreate that experience, right? So I'll talk about the shows for a second, because one of our shows is similar. Like, I love Sierra games in the 1990s, right? There's a lot of what we're doing that is based in King's Quest, Quest for Glory series, right? All the way up to like Space Quest, and even a little bit Larry. Like the narrative worlds that Ken and Roberta Williams created for the 15, 20 years that they had that company were what inspired me as a kid, right? And I replayed those games over and over and over again, right? I still have Quest for Glory 2 sitting on a sim on my laptop. I sort of like, because I just love that game, right? So I wanted to enthuse that into an experience, but I wanted to create these experiences that audiences can come back and see again. So it's a Sleep No More idea, right? Did you guys see Sleep No More in New York?
We did early, actually. So we were there when Neil Patrick Harris was there. He was standing right next to us. It was a funny coincidence.
But there is a thing about Sleep No More that I think is and talk about scale, not a replicatable show, right? Like, it's simply not. It's like, but they're doing fine in New York. But you'd leave Sleep No More, and a friend would say, "Hey, did you see that thing?" And you're like, "No, I never saw that thing." And then I'm like, I can't believe I didn't see the thing that my friend. Now I want to go back and see that thing. I got to go find it. Right. I'm doing the exact same thing. Right. I'm because I love that idea. Right. So Gatsby's is we wanted to play in a well-known world. Right. And we wanted to like cast people playing these characters and take our own take on it. Because what we say is like we apply this Seize the Show experience to a world. Right. So we applied Seize the Show experience to our take on Christmas Carol. Right. Which was to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. Next door is our take on a little bit of our take on Desperate Housewives, right? You show up into this neighborhood and there's a murder, and again, there's some really narrative innovations that are happening on it that are really fun. But yeah, you have to go in and solve a murder into this world. And then Night on Lives of Henry Point Clark is like a total throwback to Sierra Games, right? It's this character who's going through this world who keeps dying, right, over and over again, which is like, how I would play games at 7-year-olds. At 7 years old, I always died, right?
It's like a Groundhog Day type.
I'm sorry?
I was saying it's like a Groundhog Day type of thing.
There's a little bit of that. Groundhog Day is a great example. Groundhog Day is like, that is a beautifully crafted. That movie is a beautifully crafted story, right? It's deep in philosophy, but it really, and so. But if you can think about Groundhog Day as a game, it's a game for him, right? He's got to figure out the thing, right? And so there's a little bit of that element into it. War of the Worlds, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to turn into yet, right? Like there is a lot of really we love the overarching idea of this survival game. But based on the H.G. Wells novel, but we haven't quite figured out what the gameplay is going to be. We're still working. It's a few months out, so we're still working on it. But it's like
a post-apocalyptic type thing, like Tom Cruise's.
It's a little bit inspired by Fallout.
Okay.
Nice.
Right? But it's so fun for us to play in existing worlds, especially in the public domain, right? Because it's just like we get to pull from a lot of stuff in order to create it. So the Gatsby stuff is just like fun.
Yeah. I mean, putting your own twist on it is definitely, the best thing.
That's transformative, right? I mean, that's what Puffs was, right? Like Puffs was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, but set in the Potter universe.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's that. I love that stuff. It's what Wicked is. I mean, that's all Wicked is, right? You're just telling an alternative narrative that was in Oz, right? It's not like, but people I really love that. I mean, it really excites me as a consumer. To take something known and apply a different point of view to it, I love it. Like I said, I love going through content.
Yeah. I mean, that's why there's also all these parodies out there.
Right.
So that's a lot of fun.
Parodies having worked on a parody. Parodies are tough, right? They don't have the same because there's the thing. Puffs is a parody, legally 100% a parody, right? I never called it a parody. I didn't have to. U.S. law let me get away with it. I always called it a comedy. Parodies they have less value to the consumer, right? So parodies are only one part of transformative media, right? But I'm excited when I get this company to a point that we're doing existing brand IP extensions that I have to license or someone wants me to develop for them using this technology, right? Like that would be really exciting to me because I think that's what Seize the Show is built to do, which is to provide an experience in something in an existing world. For the time being, we're using free to use IP and some of our own stuff and basing it loosely, legally on other ideas.
Legally, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot about IP law from my years of Puffs. Like that transphobic woman really came after me for about 3 years. Could not get past U.S. law, and I fought her at every turn and was successful at it.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, we wanted to know, since, you have all your shows planned until into June now, will there be more production after that? Or what's the future like for Seize the Show? Would you keep this online platform even if the in-person shows are going to open up?
We still have Netflix just because theater existed. Like, it's just a new form of entertainment, right? And you can't always, theater's lovely, but I'm after but it's local, and I'm after a global audience now, right? I want to unite people from around the world having these experiences. I think it's something I was never able to do in theater. To have two people in two different countries or two different states watching the same content and interacting with each other over it, I think is really thrilling. And I think that's why it will continue to go Like this type of at-home immersive entertainment, I think is just the way of the future.
Yeah, I think through this platform, you're able to captivate, or not even captivate, you're able to reach a larger, across the sea and different time zones. And
that's what we're seeing in not just, the entertainment world, but also in the escape world as too, because now they're putting escape rooms online. So we're able to have, friends and everyone playing all over the world.
It's a huge audience, right? So that's the thing. It's like, I think Rubik's works, right? I know we can do better, but I need my technology to take another step forward in order to serve the escape room idea even better, right? Because like we can design an escape room and we can have this, and like the collab thing, right? Where you are talking with the audience, right? Like you're having to share clues between the two rooms, right? During the second act. And then also the internet search that you use on your phone, right? Which exists in other escape rooms. And like, the Plymouth Point does that. Swan Motel does that, like really well. Like all that stuff. So what I need is text entry, right? During a puzzle room to be able to service the escape room experience even better. So that's coming next. So like I'm not gonna say this is our beta test because it's actually selling really well. I can take what we've done on Rubik's and like within the next 6 months design a totally like new and better experience than I currently have. Because now we know what we were missing. Right. I love this escape room. I love the audience in our escape room. Like, especially when you get those hardcore puzzle people and like, this is too easy. And then they still fail at the end of the show because they couldn't figure out who the saboteur was. Because the saboteur
and then they come back because they don't like to lose.
Well, and the saboteur is like it's actually a really tough one. It's a tough one to figure out. We make you go down through several like rabbit holes with no help. But because that was the point when like at that point in the show, which is we're not helping you anymore. Right. Act 1 will help you. Act 2 will help you a little bit. Act 3, we're like, nope, you're on your own. Good luck. And we say, right. And what we discovered is that there's definitely audience members, escape room members who want that from the beginning. They're like, this is what I want. I think the other thing that we're experimenting with is audience size. I think we're trying to figure out what the right size is for it. Because we do about 25 people per room, and I think that might be a slightly too big. But there's economies and cost of scale that we have to go back and refigure out in terms of how to develop one to make it, make a sensible investment, right, and get a return on that as a product.
Yeah, I actually think 4 rooms would be better because you're absolutely right with the 25 people in each room. Once one person types something in, someone could be like, "Oh yeah, I had the same answer," and type the same thing right after them. So it kind of like. All the work that they put into writing it down and then see someone else do it, it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, someone wrote it first.
Yeah, and so once I can get into a little bit more automation between the video sound and gamiotic software, where that it will take that the audience can actually input stuff to trigger it rather than an operator having to run everything, then I could go that big, right? Because they get. I mean, one of the things about escape rooms is that they can especially on the digital side, they're more expensive to run, right? Which is like when you're moving up brick and mortar, but you're replacing those brick and mortars with operator costs, right? It's something else. But I think the digital escape room format, I don't think it's going anywhere because escape rooms were having issues financially. Because especially in the brick and mortar side, it's like it's expensive to switch out the rooms and change and completely redesign puzzles. And so you've seen a lot of them over the years not because they weren't good, but because they run through they didn't have that replayability factor by being able to switch things out easy enough. And I think a lot of the really smart people in the escape room world have figured that out from a financial side to be like, all right, we got to design things that can be more flexible to keep our audience, to build an audience loyalty to keep coming back so that these things keep running. But it's easy to do in digital. It's tough to do in brick and mortar.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, speaking about puzzles and all these things about testing your knowledge and skills, are you ready for our game?
I'm ready for the game.
All right. So here is our game, and it is called
Eat or Drink.
Take a Drink. All right, David, what do you have to drink over there?
Well, normally we usually ask about the questions about your own shows or your own game, but because we played a few weeks ago, we also forgot a little bit about it ourselves. So we are going to ask you trivia questions on mostly off-Broadway.
Yeah, your knowledge of the theater.
So you should be good there.
Do you have a drink on hand with you?
I have my water because it is the middle of the day and I'm still working. So I apologize a little bit, but I promise I'll make it up in spades after this.
Okay.
I have some variation of water. It's not water at all. It's actually a drink that was from Il Molino, New York, that sponsored us a couple shows back. Okay. And this one is the Perfectly Patron. Didn't really get to try it last time, so I'm going to taste this one. And if you get the question wrong, then you're drinking that H2O. If you get it right, then I will be taking a sip of this Perfectly Patron.
Well, I kind of have faith in him not getting any wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been in the industry for so long. I'm pretty sure he's going to knock these out.
And the audience can participate as well because these are trivia questions versus, games, part of the show. So we'll see how your knowledge about Broadway is.
10 seconds from after we ask you the question is how long you have. Yeah. First question for you is:
what is the best-selling Broadway show of all times?
Of all time, Lion King.
Yeah, see? Yeah. He knows.
Yeah, that was quick. I didn't even get to finish the 10 seconds.
You know what the earnings of Lion King is approximately right now?
It is bigger than Star Wars. It's a $7 billion entertainment property. Theatrical alone. It's the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing in entertainment ever. Bigger than
Do you know when it started, the show, the first show? What year?
Lion King was in 96. I want to say around
96, 97.
It wasn't that.
97.
The 97 was 96 is one premiered, yeah.
Earning like 1.6 billion plus right now, still going.
And still going.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
Our second question for you is: what year did Wicked debut?
Whoa, 2004?
Very close.
Ooh, you're very close. And since you're only drinking water, I'm not going to be nice to you. It's 2003.
Oh my God! Okay. All right.
Yeah, he's he might be really good at Trivial Pursuit in the theater, the theater section. All right, here we go. Number 3.
What is the off-Broadway show called that adapted from Joseph Mark's eponymous poem, starring Julia Mourney and Adina Menzel in 2000? That was a tough one.
In 2000.
Yeah.
Adina Menzel. So this. Oh gosh. No, I don't know this one.
The Wild Party.
A Wild Party. Oh, I'm an idiot. I should have had that. Oh, if you said musical, I would have got it.
Oh, I don't know. They've categorized under.
Yeah, we didn't see it. So
a play, but I should have gotten it. But yes, no. Okay.
We expected more of it. No,
yeah, right. Fair enough.
All right. So question number 4 for you is: what's the average paid salary for a Broadway actor in New York
these days?
It's like 1,800-ish, somewhere like that.
Oh, annual. Sorry.
Oh, like 30,000 a year. It's terrible.
Actually, it's double that and more.
60 now? Yeah, it was
68,000.
Yeah. I mean, it's for a Broadway performer.
It is pretty terrible still.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, but it's also because like they're that's. Shows come and go. You're on 6-month contracts. Like, you never know. Like, it's like if you're in Wicked, right? You're clearing $100,000 a year, easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a chorus member, like the salary's definitely right. I mean, like, it's good when you're in a long running show, but like going from show to show is tough.
Yeah.
Well, here's our 5th question. Who is the highest paid Broadway actor in 2020?
Audience? Anyone?
What's the highest paid in 2020?
Yeah.
This one makes sense. This one.
What?
The answer makes sense.
Though I'm not sure if he'll be happy about it.
I'm trying to think. Was it Bette Midler when she did Hello, Dolly? But I think that was too long. That was too long ago.
Yeah. No. 2020.
Yeah.
But 2020 only lasted until March. So like, I'm trying to think of what shows were on before the shutdown.
Anyone else?
Earning around $45.5 million.
On Broadway? Mm-hmm. I don't got this one.
Brendan?
Lin-Manuel Miranda from?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
he doesn't like it.
Okay, yeah. Because that's a trick question, right? Because he's not only making money as a performer, he's making money as an author. He sold the rights to the film.
Lyrics. Yeah.
Too much on Hamilton.
All right, so we do have one more. It's not really a trivia, right? It's more of
I mean, we just mainly want to know, you've probably seen everything on Broadway by this point. If someone was to visit New York and only had to choose one Broadway show to watch, which one would you recommend? And is there any upcoming ones on your radar?
I mean, everything's going to probably get back by the summer would be my guess, right? I mean, I think that's what everybody is saying. In terms of the stuff that's coming back, I would actually say like go see Six, right? Like it's not a traditional musical. It is a rock concert, but like certainly for a younger audience, it is just a ridiculous amount of fun in 80, 90 minutes, right? I saw it in London at its original theater. Go see Six. Six is great.
Oh,
yeah.
So
You know what it is? It's a musical. It's Spice Girls meets Henry VIII's wives, right?
Oh my God, Spice Girls.
6 wives. They all got every single one of them has a show-stopping number, right? Where they blow the roof off the theater, and all 6 of them do, and it is just so much fun, right? If you want to go learn history, do not see that one at all. It has nothing to do with it. And Hamilton is perfect. I mean, it's a perfect musical. It is a brilliant, brilliant experience. But go see Six. You can watch Hamilton on Disney Plus. It's just as fun.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah.
Now we can. Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you, David, for taking the time to speak to our audience about Seize the Show. For anyone who likes to attend one of the experiences, you can use 10% off code on the shows tonight or the ones coming up at the Night at Gatsby's by using the code.
If you can't make it tonight, use it to come next week for our premiere of That Night at Gatsby's. It is super fun and cool, right? So,
wow. Well, we won't be announcing the winner yet.
Yeah, no, but they can use the code.
You can use the code.
ESCAPE20 to get 10% off. And the lucky winner will be able to attend the other shows once we announce the winner in the two shows later. But it will be the code. I mean, the sentence to type in will be, "I'm ready to press that button."
Press that button.
And you can also, write this in the post-edited version of the show as well. If you miss a live stream until March 5th, because that's when we'll announce it on episode 41. And anyone who's been watching these post-edited version of the shows, you know that there are hidden letters and numbers embedded in there. One per each show. So remember to collect all of them because you might get a chance to win Epic Escapes 3 game in one box.
Yeah.
And we'll probably release an unboxing video of that coming up episode 40 so you can see what that's like.
Yep.
And I know a lot of the audience have been getting the letters and numbers because they've been checking with us to make sure that it's correct.
And verifying with us.
So
am I on the right track?
It's good.
You
good.
totally can do that.
Yeah. But yes, join us next Friday, February 26th at 4 p.m. with Trap Puzzle Rooms, where we'll be solving some puzzles involving pizza and tacos. And we'll also have a special announcement to make because we are going to be on the road, actually playing some real escape rooms soon. Next week. Yeah. And next Sunday. Yeah, I know. We need to. It's time.
Yeah.
Some physical loss at this point.
But we will be.
We're going to Virginia, and probably along the way we'll play some rooms. But we will be going live, acting as avatars. So you'll get to play a room with us live because the owner is retiring one of their rooms, Escape Room Herndon in Virginia. Very amazing rooms there. Room 213 is the room that we'll be playing.
Yeah.
And this is going to be happening on Sunday, the 28th.
Right.
We'll go live stream, and you guys can tell us what you want us to do in the room.
Right. So this is kind of our escape down memory lane.
Yeah. Well, the one last time because they're taking the room apart. So definitely join us for that. And also we wanted your help in our puzzle solving. Yeah,
we don't want to be stuck in room 213 for more than 60 minutes. So.
Yeah. So remember to also give us a thumbs up on the videos and our YouTube and subscribe to our channel. So now please go enjoy Seize the Show. Thank you, everybody, for turning in.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.